big. How big? This is a lens I've been looking forward to since they announced it. This is the Sigma 3-600 f4. Now I think Sigma said, what do wildlife photographers really want in their world? I mean, we've always had 600 f4s and they've been fantastic. What do we want? A little variety. So Sigma came up with a 300 to 600 millimeter f4 lens. Could this be the ultimate wildlife lens for the higher end user? Now I was only able to use this lens for a very limited amount of time. So unfortunately I wasn't able to go to the mountains or anything to try and hunt some actual wildlife down. So we've come to the Calgary Zoo where you're guaranteed to see some wildlife. Now we were here just recently with the 4-800 lens from Sony, which was a really good lens for its own right. This is a slightly different focal range and certainly a brighter aperture. I was very curious to see what my impressions were on this lens in a very similar shooting situation. All right, now we have some zebras over here, but Airfan was very excited to find a gopher. First one that he saw in Canada. He's brand new, so everything's new for him here. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or the lack of elephants here at the Calgary Zoo, which I'm perfectly okay with. We do have some giraffes in the background here, so some large animals, and this is where I'm finding this lens is really very cool. Now it is a heavy lens. I mean, it comes in at 4,000 grams or just shy of that. So it's about 8.8 pounds. It is something that you certainly could handhold if you really wanted to, but I'm electing not to because I'm finding I'm getting way better results if I'm using a monopod like this Leofoto 365C and the MPG-01 head on here, which makes this lens basically weightless. It's fantastic for walking around a zoo or something like this. Gives you all the stability that I need, and I can really take my time and play around with, even though this lens is slightly big and heavy. Now this lens is kind of ridiculously sized, and we're getting lots of comments from people around the zoo. Usually I show up with a smaller lens and nobody even pays attention, but I show up with this one here and I'm getting comments from everybody walking around. I mean, if I put this in front of me, you can barely even see me at all. This is a large lens. I mean, it is about 47 centimeters long without the hood. Throw in the hood there and it's another 8 inches or so. And it certainly feels a little bit smaller, but it is a sizable lens, period. I mean, a 600 f4, we need that light gathering ability, so a big, large front element like this is needed. The lens itself is pretty big. Now, because of the size and weight of this lens, I'm finding I don't use it handheld very often at all. I mean, if I was shooting birds in flight, that'd be one thing, where I'm holding the lens down at my waist, waiting for the birds to fly, then picking up the lens and tracking the birds that way. But here at the zoo, where I'm watching larger... Oh, no! Time for that. Keep rolling. We almost got by the hippos there. He didn't like my opinion on this lens, I think. At the zoo here, where I'm observing larger mammals and taking my time with some photography, having a monopod and a gimbal head makes a huge difference. We're halfway through the day. What do I think of this lens so far? Well, I'm finding that it is, of course, big and heavy, and I'm glad I brought the monopod along today, which has been great. But I'm finding the focus is very quick, and you can take a look at our focus test here. You can see just what you can expect from this lens as far as the focusing goes. I mean, Sigma has put everything into this lens to make it be one of the best performing lenses that they can possibly make. I mean, think about this. This lens is going to be designed for capturing birds in flight, not just animals sitting around. So it's got to be able to track the motion, track action very effectively and very fast. Now, we just came from the bird aviary, which is a very tricky place to shoot some good quality photos because the lighting isn't stellar there and you're shooting fleeting moments with these birds. And I was able to capture a few shots of birds with some suspect shutter speeds, which was really a testament to what the stabilization is on this lens. I mean, Sigma rates it at 5.5 stops, which is pretty effective for what I would say, and I think it's pretty accurate. Now, Sigma rates this lens at 5.5 stops of image stabilization, but I would always recommend shoot higher shutter speeds than you'd like to, even if you have to go into those higher ISOs. Now, if we tour the Sigma 300 to 600, we see from the camera outwards, we do have a filter at the very beginning here. It's a 40.5 filter. If I want to put on an ND filter, if you ever want to do that, or a polarizer, this is how you put it in. Now, behind that, we do have our autofocus manual focus switch, and a really nice little touch is that they have a black label underneath that switch. When you are in the autofocus, you can see that it's black. Manual focus, it's white. It's kind of a nice sort of visual reminder that if you're taking a look at this lens, what you're actually set at. We do have a focus limiting switch here. If my subject's beyond 10 meters or only up to 10 meters, I can limit to how far it's going to focus, which is also very good. We do have the OS unit here. We do have optical stabilization 1 and 2, one for panning and one for general stabilization, or you can turn it completely off. And there, of course, there is a custom 1 and 2 here as well. A nice big black knurled knob here for rotating the lens, and this is what I find is premium. This feels fantastic when I'm rotating it left to right, and using it in the configuration I have today with the monopod and the gimbal head, it is so nice and smooth. It works fantastic. And something quite unique is the ability to click or declick the lens collar itself. I love that feature, actually. As I'm going vertical and horizontal a lot today, I am spinning it back and forth all the time. In front of that, we do have a manual focus switch. I do switch into that manual focus, I can control my focus this way. Something I really appreciate about this lens is the fact that it's a 3-600, so I am going to be zooming in a lot. And that zoom ring is really nice, big and pronounced, and has a little ridge built into it here as the lens expands outwards, giving you a really good positive feel when I'm running my hand on the lens trying to find that ring. With my eyes at the viewfinder, I can easily determine I'm on the right place on the lens to zoom. And it's only about 70 degrees to go from 300 to 600, so it's very quick to reframe your shot, something I really appreciate as the action is kind of fleeting here from time to time. Now in front of that we do have whatever this thing is called, and 2 buttons. It's what the hell is that thing called? Where's my phone? Now ahead of the zoom ring, we do have the function ring here, which is a back and forth here. You can customize it to several different applications and some custom buttons here as well. Now I'm purposely not really playing with those at all. I don't have the time to really customize this lens how I'd want to really get a feel for it, but they are there if you want to take advantage of that. This lens is of course fully weather sealed, and all the buttons, dials, and controls all have weather sealing behind it, and even the front element has a coating on there to repel dust and water. Overall, Sigma has made a very premium lens that is the highest build quality that they can make, and I love the little touches they put to it, from the knurled knob like here to the autofocus manual focus switch with the black underlay underneath it to really help you see that, to the clickable or declickable lens collar. These are all fantastic user-friendly features that make this lens a pleasure to use today. Now this might be a first for me that I'm going on and on about the user creature comforts of a lens, and in my case here, the lens collar is the best I've ever seen. I love the fact we have this nice big black knurled knob here that allows us to loosen this lens up so I can rotate from vertical to horizontal. But the fact that it's the only lens that I know of that actually has a clickable or declickable focus collar. So if I click that on, every 90 degrees, it has a positive click to it. I can turn that off if I don't want that. I can rotate freely back and forth. That's very cool. And on the tripod foot itself, it actually has a leatherette kind of coating on here. So if I'm carrying the lens by the foot itself, it's much more comfortable. And you can replace this foot, but why would you? It already has an Arca Swiss foot built into it. Sigma has done a fantastic job, and I wish everybody did a focus collar like this. Now this is an ultra-telephoto lens. However, it does have a minimum focusing distance of 2.8 meters, or probably about 6 feet. So if you're looking at trying to shoot some macro with it, it's not my first choice by any stretch, but we were at the butterfly sanctuary there earlier, and you're able to actually get some decent shots of some foliage and a couple butterflies. We picked a good time to come to the zoo because the bears are out of hibernation now, so we have a very lazy grizzly bear who is just chilling out over there, but you can see the size of its paws. These are something you definitely don't want to cross in the real world. So thankfully, the zoo provides nice animals to photograph. All right, it's been a long day here shooting with this 300 to 600 f4 from Sigma. Here at the zoo, we've had some great shots, what I think are great shots. I can't wait to get back to the computer and have a look at what this lens is capable of producing. Sigma's done everything they can to make this lens optically as good as they possibly can. I mean, there's 28 elements in here, 21 different groups, all kinds of special spherical elements and low contrast elements to really give us the best punch and the best quality that we can get. I'm anxious to get back to my computer, download these images, and take a look at what we have to watch. That's coming up next. All right, so we finally got back to the studio here and was able to download the images. I mean, you can only tell so much about how good a lens is or your images are on the back screen of the camera. Now, the Sony a7R5 has a decent screen on the back, but nothing anywhere close to what you can see when you actually put it onto a proper screen. So here we are on my MacBook Air, taking a look at this through Lightroom, and I've taken a lot of shots at the zoo, you know, about 900 shots at the zoo, and I've narrowed it down to about 64 that I'm actually interested in looking at. Now, the first animals we got to see there were some of these bighorn sheep, and you can take a look at what to expect out of this lens with that f4. I mean, being able to use depth of field to really draw your subject out, and you can see as far as sharpness goes, we zoom in on this guy, once this computer we res up on the images here, they are relatively large files. You can see just how nice and sharp these files are. I mean, look at that eye. You can see reflections in the eye of the sheep. But more interesting to me is you can see the fence in the background there and see what you can expect as far as the background blur goes and work from there. I mean, same thing if I pop the next shot over here, you can see sort of the male and the female there. The female is only a few feet behind the male, and you can still clearly see that she's in focus. So that f4 is not going to give you that brutal, shallow depth of field, but certainly a really nice, attractive look. If we carry on in my day here, of course, there's like the, the three little owls. Something that I thought was not part of the zoo, which was kind of cool to capture, was an osprey that had just caught a fish and was on a pole over there feeding away. And it's, once again, take a look at this. This thing obviously knew that I was here as it's staring at me with death look in its eyes. But look at the quality you're getting out of that shot here. Now, it was kind of a cloudy, overcast day. The sky looks pretty plain, but you can see the tree in the foreground here, how blurred out that is, and it becomes sort of an addition to the photo. Take a look at the tiniest little birds here, and you can see this one sitting on a wire fence. what we're getting. Punch in, once again, really nice and sharp. And these are unsharpened images. I mean, I've adjusted them for color, but I haven't done anything as far as the sharpening goes. I don't want to misrepresent anything. So this is what you can expect straight out of camera. Now, the stabilization I mentioned as well. If we go to a couple of these shots here, we look at my metadata up here. I mean, this is at 600 millimeters at f4, but 1/400th of a second. This is pretty sketchy shutter speeds with a lens like this. And even though I had it on a monopod, we're able to capture some pretty decent detail. It's a little bit noisy. I'm shooting a little higher ISO, of course, and that's sort of the trade-off of shooting a larger lens like this. But I can apply a little denoise to that, and I certainly get a very usable image out of that in sort of more suspect shutter speeds. Now, we talked also about using this lens as a macro lens for a little bit of fun there. And yes, the minimum focusing distance is 280 centimeters, so just shy of 3 meters. That's about 10 feet away. So photographing something like this flower or even this butterfly here, it is kind of fun to play around with, and you can certainly use that. So if there's no big mammals to be watching, right, you can certainly play around with some of the little ones. And you can see as I punch in here, look at the fine detail you're able to capture with this butterfly. It's a lot of fun to work with there. Now, I was interested to see kind of what this lens was able to do as far as focusing goes. We obviously know that this lens is going to be nice and sharp. And I can see the results here. But it's the autofocus when it comes to moving animals. I didn't have time to go hit a bird sanctuary and get any kind of birds in flight. It's been kind of hit and miss recently. But I go to one of my favorite dog parks and I can always guarantee some kind of action there. And there's this dog running straight at me here. And you can see once this reses up here again, right? This is a burst sequence of shots, and I was able to nail several shots in a row of this dog that's crisp and clean, super sharp focus. Love that. Once again, same thing here. And even one of our coworkers was at the park with her dog, and you can see what you expect as this dog is running towards us. Now, this is shot at 1/4000th of a second. This is really nice. Background's really nice and blown out, and you can see the foreground here is also blurred out as well. Now, if we want to get really geeky about this, let's dive into some really boring shots here. Here's a picture of the brick wall I like to use a lot for doing sort of sharpness tests. So at 300 at f4, you can see center sharpness here is really nice. You can look at the detail on this feature here. And even if we stretch it out and go up into the corners, we are getting some very good results. Stop it down a little bit, and you are going to see at 5.6. There's a touch of vignetting at f4, but it's not terrible at all. It evens out a little bit. And the detail doesn't really improve that much. It's still really nice and sharp. I mean, this lens is optimized to shoot at f4. That's what it's going to be. I'd be surprised if anybody's actually really stopping it down, to be honest. And we go up to 600, same kind of results. What you can expect, look at the level of detail on here. This is fantastic, so no problems at all. Now, here is that problematic hippo that almost on us because we were in the splash zone. We were almost too close, and this is where shooting a 300 mil can sometimes be problematic because I just can't get the entire animal in the frame. I needed to back up more to get this, which probably would have been much safer in this particular instance. But I, of course, want to know what you guys think of this brand new lens from Sigma, the 300 to 600 f4. I mean, it's a really impressive focal length. Is this every wildlife photographer's dream lens? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow me on Instagram. It's been Dave from the Camera Store. We'll catch you again soon. Hey, thanks for sticking and watching this first look at Sigma's 300 to 600 f4. If you want to check out more of our recent content, click up here. If you're Canadian and you want to shop local, check out thecamerastore.com down here.